Hey guys, we are live. Hopefully, everyone is having a very good Friday. Now, as you can see, guys, Kelly looks different today.
Went downhill.
So, today, since Kelly abandoned us for the beaches of Mexico, we have Mark Anderson with us. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give Mark an opportunity to introduce himself to you guys. And while Mark is introducing himself, here's what I want you guys to do. You know how we do it. I want you to give me your emoji that signifies the mood you're in today, your mood emoji for right now. So, Mark, tell everybody who you are.
All right. Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to be here. It's a privilege to be here. I've known Robert for quite a while. Joe, not so long, but it's a great honor to be here. What I do is I run a company called Anderson Investigative Associates. We are essentially an interview and interrogation training firm. And we do it across the board in the investigation business, in the audit business. I probably do more audit training now than I do investigation, both criminal and administrative side. Been doing it for a long time in my career. I'm a former federal employee and started this business just to bring good non-confrontational interviewing, good conversational interviewing to people all around the country.
I'm with the two communication guys today. Yikes.
Yeah. Hey, so we've got a lot of people that are in really good moods. Hey, Nicola. Deidre is smiling. Deidre, you're always smiling though, so that had to be your favorite emoji, right? Hal says his lips are sealed. Hal is always coming with the good emojis. And Emily, I don't know if you saw my virtual fist bump back to you, Emily. Here's someone from the Bahamas. You know what? I know who this is, but you're showing up just as LinkedIn user because of your privacy settings. If you want us to see your picture, you got to fix those privacy settings. You are having wait, is today your birthday or something? And I forgot your name, so but I know who you are. And here is Pozo. Pozo has fixed her privacy settings, and now we can see her. Pozo, what's your mood emoji? You know you can't come into a room with us without telling us what your mood is, and you do it in an emoji. We've got Ismail here from Bangladesh. It is midnight in Bangladesh. My man, I am so happy that you stayed up here with us. Oh, and here is Honora from London. Not that one. Wait, Canada.
I've been to London.
I have too.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, I've never been to London, Canada. All right. So, guys, as you are coming in, drop the emoji that signifies the mood that you are in right now. Today, we've got some interesting things to talk about today. All right. So, let's just get started. Let's see. Give me 1 second here, guys. All right. Last week, you remember we talked about Kentucky and the issues that they were having with their unemployment benefits. So they had this system that, well, the system probably was working. They probably set it up wrong, but they had this system. And what was happening is people were changing the direct deposit bank account that funds were going to, and they were stealing people's money. So I have an update for you guys because Kentucky, well, they're still at it. Sorry, guys. Got a little tongue tied there because it's actually a classic story on what happens when controls break down and when you don't implement good controls. So as you can see here, this headline, Kentucky shut down unemployment system for 4 days because of fraud. So because they had bad controls in the system or because they did not implement appropriate controls, they ended up shutting down their system to process unemployment claims for people who really need money for 4 days. And I'm just going to read you guys a little bit from the news story. It said, desperate to stop rampant fraud, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear is shutting down the state's unemployment insurance system for 4 days starting at midnight. When the system does reopen the morning of Tuesday, April the 13th, all unemployment claimants will have to re-register using an 8-digit PIN that they will receive in the mail late this week. How can they guarantee that? Or early next week, officials said. Then the governor also said, I hate that we have to do it, but there is no other option other than to let people's money get stolen. Well, hey, here's a novel thought. There was another option. Set up appropriate controls to begin with. And if you don't remember, this is the one where they didn't require people to have complex PIN numbers. And what they were saying is that people started breaking into accounts and changing the direct deposit information. Well, I did a little bit more digging, and there are some sources that actually say what happened was the system was compromised and that people went in and changed those PIN numbers to non-complex PIN numbers and then went in. And so I don't know if that's actually true, but that's what some sources are reporting. But at the end of the day, the system was not set up to require people to input strong PIN numbers to begin with. So a preventive control could have stopped some of this nonsense and madness from happening. But wait, the story gets better. So they interviewed a few folks, and let's see. Here's a story. Here's one story where they interviewed a guy. Actually, if you look here, what I have highlighted, Kentucky labor officials have spent the weekend making security upgrades to the online unemployment system. The key thing is that people wanting to file claims are going to have to do a new 8-digit PIN number instead of a 4-digit one. And then the labor officials are saying the problem was that criminals were able to get into the system because some pins were as simple as 111 or 2020. But then they interviewed some folks, and one guy, Martinez, he said that he was trying to get his unemployment benefits and couldn't. But if you look at the highlighted piece here, he couldn't get his. But apparently his mother was told that she can get unemployment, but she didn't apply. So, you know, this story, it's like the gift that keeps on giving. It is the story of ineffective preventive controls. It's the story of we're going to do whatever we want to do to look good in front of people until it backfires. So what I'm going to do is, guys, I don't know if you want to weigh in on this, but what do you guys think? Here's our update on the Kentucky story.
I don't even know if I have anything to say about this anymore. I don't know.
What a classic that Martinez can't get the benefits, but his mother can, even though she didn't apply for them and wasn't unemployed. You talk about an entree there for him to commit fraud to be able to get the benefits that he's entitled to under his mother's name. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why people start learning how to get around the control.
Absolutely.
If they're there.
Almost being encouraged to.
Yeah, exactly.
So check out what Emily said. Payroll fraud attempt on her direct deposit this last cycle. Thankfully, the HR director caught it.
Yeah.
Wow. Emily, glad they caught it. That would have been bad.
Did they catch it through a control process? Emily, tell us more about that.
Yeah, how did they catch it, Emily? Do tell.
Just curious.
Now, I'm assuming Pozo is being very sarcastic. Wow, great controls. And Deidre, all the way over in Tallahassee. How are things in Tallahassee, Deidre? Also, poor directive controls from the top. Yeah, well, and what happens a lot of times in government too, Deidre, and you know this very well, being in a quasi-governmental agency. Deidre works for Florida A&M. Is that oftentimes the officials in charge, they just kind of wave their magic wand and say, this is what we're doing, all under the guise of we're going to help people out by lowering controls. So yeah. Mm-hmm. All poor controls from the top. Emily said it was email phishing.
Interesting.
So wait a minute. Did they get you, Emily? Did you fall for the phishing scam? I'm pretty certain Emily didn't fall for the phishing scam. I'm guessing it's someone else in her organization.
Well, and don't forget the Kentucky story is the one where they're going to start mailing paper checks too.
Right.
Instead to get away from direct deposit. So we talked about them kind of going back to archaic ways to almost get around making their own controls better.
Right. Ooh, Emily said they had a fake email account. Oh, wow.
Mm.
Jeez. HR director simply asked the question. Oh, whew, that's pretty bad.
Good for them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who knows if they had yellow book training? And you know, again, in governmental agencies, certain people with positions of power and authority, they just wave the magic wand and they say, here, you're going to do this. And
Do
it
it.
goes back to what I say is, where are all the people who have courage enough to speak up? Don't be a coward. Speak up. I mean, if they don't listen, at least you've said something, and don't just cry and whine like a baby. Give a logical reason as to why you're saying the things that you say. Because there's nothing worse than somebody who just cries without giving reason. And, you know, so, but where are the people who were speaking up? Now, Hal is saying, at least we can. Hal is being very sarcastic here, right? At least,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
why,
at least we can.
The check will be coming right after the pin.
yeah. I read that the pin was coming in the mail. I was like, oh no. Now it's the pin numbers. Great.
Looking for that.
And you know, I have to say, I'm not making fun of Kentucky, and we don't take this lightly, but we're bringing this to light to show, first of all, people who watch this show are typically auditors, consultants, fraud examiners, fraud investigators, and our own ethics expert, Joe. And I think if we talk about the things that are happening or that have happened, there's some good lessons learned here. And lately, we've been having a lot of COVID fraud, and I had a lot that we almost put that on the agenda for today. And then I said, we've had enough of those. Next week, though, or the week after, depending, we've got a really good COVID fraud coming. You guys are going to be surprised about what this one young lady was able to do and how many companies in my air quotes she created in order to get PPP loans. But I think we had one other thing that happened this week that is very, very, very noteworthy. So, without further ado, let's get to our next story. Bernie Madoff. He died this week. And for my friends overseas who don't know who he is, or just for people who don't remember, he perpetrated the largest Ponzi scheme we've seen in the US. So not only did he con investors, he also seduced the regulators. The Security and Exchange Commission said, you know, he was an esteemed member of some of their boards. He was the chairman of the NASDAQ market from 1990, 1991, and 1993. He sat on several SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, advisory committees. He was a well-known, well-respected figure on Wall Street for several years until he was convicted of 150 years in jail for his crimes. So let's talk about his crimes a little bit. So while doing all these great things, he was the financier, and he was running a multi-billion-dollar Ponzi scheme. And it was just a real classic scheme. Essentially, he swindled early investors by paying them money with later investors that came into his fund. And that really is all he did. He sent them fake account statements, and he just kept it going. So if you signed up for if you were an early investor, you probably got paid from later investors. And he wiped out thousands of people's savings by doing this Ponzi scheme. But one thing that I saw in a lot of articles in hindsight, what they said was that agency examiners never asked for basic records to corroborate his operations because they were just so enamored by his presence. So I know that Joe and Mark have studied Bernie extensively. So I'm going to hand over the floor to them to talk about Bernie for a little bit.
Well, I saw that Hal put the Wizard of Lies in the chat already. I told Robert and Mark already I was going to talk about No One Would Listen, the whistleblower version, right? Harry Markopolos. So there's my book recommendation for the day. What I love that Robert said was that you said that he seduced regulators, and I love that word in the articles. Some of the articles they call him, or they say that he charmed them. And I just want, there was this one quote in the Theranos documentary about Elizabeth Holmes. They actually compare her to Bernie Madoff. They actually say she is number one in frauds above Bernie Madoff, which I think is kind of crazy considering the scale of what Bernie did. But they say that they were both smart, charming bullies. And I think that is a quote that just really resonated with me. And I always equate that with Bernie Madoff and what he did. Smart, charming bullies. So I tell people all the time in my ethics trainings, that's what you need to look out for at your organization. Those smart, charming bullies. Those are the leaders that, ethics might come second to them. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
Well, and a lot of sources say that they had whistleblowers that were trying to tell the story for at least 10 years. What say you about that, Mark?
No, that's true. If you actually look at the scheme itself and the stuff that I've read on the scheme, it's not a very complicated scheme. It's pretty simplistic. It's at the bottom of the rung of Ponzi schemes, and the only way you can pull something off that's that simplistic is through that seductive power that he has, which Joe is referring to, which is a huge issue, not just in this case, but in any case, is our ability as auditors or investigators or ethics or compliance people to see through that sort of behavioral characteristic that makes him, I love the use of the term bully associated with, because it's kind of like the bull in the china shop, but it's breaking all the stuff and nobody knows it's breaking. So yeah, there's people bringing this stuff forward, but their level of seduction of the SEC people was not as significant as his, so they let these complaints go. This should have been identified way before when it was finally addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And Pozo is saying smart, charming bullies. Great, Joe.
Thanks. Yeah. One more thing that reminded me when Mark said that. So I'm going to hold up another book. Bernie Madoff was a blind spot. And one of the biggest blind spots we all have is leaders or authority figures. And I think that is what Bernie Madoff, for those who didn't blow the whistle for 10 years, for those that looked the other way and said, I don't know how this guy is making the returns that he is, but we're just going to go with it. They had a blind spot to him. He's a leader on Wall Street, this big authority figure. And to me, that's how it happened for so long. It is the blind spots even the regulators had to this. So
the difference with the regulators, though, is their responsibility. What is it? It's smart, charming bullies. Is that what it is? I understand how when you're selling something, somebody who's a purchaser might have that blind spot. But remember, the regulators have a fiscal responsibility to trust, but verify. And somewhere between that trust and verifying, they threw out that second step and accepted what he said.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and Hal makes a great point. People went to Madoff wanting him to take their money.
Absolutely.
And, this speaks to greed, because people saw the rate of returns that he was having, and they literally were throwing money at him. Here, take my money. But he had an unprecedented number. His return number, rate of return, was unprecedentedly high. Oh goodness, I can't talk today. But that should have been a red flag in and of itself. But I think sometimes when we get greedy, we ignore red flags, and we allow fame to ignore red flags, because he was really a rock star of Wall Street.
Well, and one of the other blind spots that they talk about in the book is groupthink. We all want to do it. So if you look at the investors, a lot of them, they were friends too. They all kind of knew each other and smoozed in the same group. And so I think, it was everybody's doing it type of mentality. Let's all jump in without thinking, without, using our head. So, falling into that groupthink blind spot as well in this one.
Yeah, and Hal brings up a really good point. He did go through great lengths to create fictitious records, but what was interesting is the fictitious records, the statements that he
They were
sent to his customers were fake, and he did go through great lengths for that. But the auditors never even asked. He charmed them so much they didn't ask.
Well, and they came up. He had his own fictitious software system too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he thought hard about this. Right? This wasn't, let's see what we can get away with what we're doing. Let's create what we're doing, in a completely different way. So, I mean, very bold in my mind.
Bold and also genius at the same time. And so it kind of makes you wonder, did the relationship cause the SEC to ignore his conduct? What do you guys think?
Well, I immediately went to kind of conflict of interest, the relationship bias. So many different things ran through my mind when I actually read that line in one of the articles. Yeah, I think the relationship had to have been a blind spot. I don't think there's any other way to say it. Yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, one thing that I saw is there was one article that said a 2009 report by the Inspector General detailed how SEC investigations of Madoff were bungled, with disputes among inspection staffers over the findings, lack of communication among SEC officials in various cities, and repeated failures to act on legitimate complaints from outside the agency. Now, that just says a lot, but what really upsets me about this is this says a lot to people like us as professionals. Disputes among inspection staffers over the findings. I mean, either it is a finding backed up by fact or it's not. Lack of communication among SEC officials in various cities. So internally, they couldn't communicate with one another, and repeated failures to act on legitimate complaints from outside the agency. That's more so with people in our position failing to do our job.
Do you see what Pozo said? When the watchdogs fall asleep, who's watching the fraudsters? Maybe not even when they fall asleep, when they're arguing amongst themselves.
Yeah. Or arguing over what's going to get us the best statistic, what's going to give us the least black eyes, what's going to be the easiest one to resolve, instead of being mission focused on what their responsibility was.
The least amount of work for us.
Yep.
Yeah, so many things.
And Hal brings up a really good point. To add credibility, he turned people down.
And that's that behavioral thing. He understood people. And he's playing off the behavioral side. What a great thing to do. Turn away the people that don't have as much that you can take off of them. And it looks like you're being selective.
The ultimate con man, because he had confidence in his ability to swindle people. I mean, the way when I read a lot about him, psychologically, he was a genius or a monster, depending on which side you look at it, right? But he was a genius because he understood human behavior.
Yeah, that's the smart part of smart, charming bully, I guess.
There you go. Well, and oftentimes you don't even know you're being bullied because they are so smart and charming.
Manipulative, right? Manipulative. Yeah. That's the word I would use.
Well, and you know how I feel about manipulative people, Joe. They are the scum of the earth.
Oh, I know. You write about them in your book.
Yes. And we talked about them in the book club yesterday.
Yeah.
By the way, if you missed that book club, you missed a fabulous event. Joe does book clubs the way that I've never, ever seen them before. But we'll come back to that in just one moment. Deidre said it goes back to saying trust but verify. SEC and auditors trusted Madoff, but no one took the time to truly verify everything they had a responsibility to look at. Couldn't have said it better myself. Deidre, you need to be the guest host next week. You want to join us? we do have room next week, Deidre, if you are interested, because I don't know if you were here last week, but Kelly has abandoned us for 2 weeks. So guys, this is where I make the pitch for someone who wants to be our guest next week. Kelly has abandoned us for 2 weeks. Kelly is somewhere on the beach in Mexico. Now, she said that she might try to watch us. Yeah, right. If I were on the beach, I wouldn't be watching Friday Fraudsters or friends talking about fraud on Friday. What are we gonna name it? I'm gonna do a poll in the next week's event. What do you all want to call what it is that we do? And Honora has said exactly what I was thinking: sociopath.
Mm.
Yeah, that's Elizabeth Holmes too.
Oh
I
God.
saw Emily in the chat. Yes, this is the Baserman Tinsbrunzel book. Blind Spots: Why We Failed to Do What's Right and What to Do About It. Good little book. Read. It's a little unnerving, but for all you ethics people like me out there, it's a good one.
Very, very unnerving. And while we're here talking about Kelly being on the beach, Joe, here to talk about the book club.
Yeah, so let me grab Kelly's book. We are going to talk about Kelly's book on May 13th. This is the best little book to have in your pocket. A lot of people don't think embezzlement can happen to them, but I love Kelly's stories in here, and that's what we're going to talk about, how it can happen to you in one way or another, what to watch out for at your organization. She has awesome takeaways, and I can't wait to talk to her about it.
And now Joe forgot to mention some of the big perks of this. You get 1 hour of CPE, and it is only $20.
Yes, that's true. And it's fun because Robert was there. He can attest. We did one yesterday and we had a lot of fun. 50 minutes goes by like that.
Here's what I have to say. I've been a part of a few book clubs before, but I've never experienced one like this. And I mean that in a good way, you guys. The way Joe does book clubs is unreal. The planning that it takes, the questions that she asks, the way she highlights different things in the book, it is truly a learning experience. And I will say, and I'm not even speaking about from the standpoint of the audience. Honestly, I could kill it. No, I'm just kidding. But I learned a lot. That's what I mean. I think all the way around, it was just something unreal. I've never experienced anything like it. So Joe does this on a monthly basis. I would suggest that you just go ahead and join it monthly. Just go ahead every month, be a part of Joe's book club because it's just that awesome. Okay. Is that enough shameless plugging?
Yeah, thanks for the plug. I appreciate
it. But you can't make this up. The experience was great, and it's a fun time. So now, oftentimes what we do here is we talk about some of the things that we are doing. And so what I'm going to do is punt over to Mark, if I can figure out how to just put Mark on the screen. I don't know if I can. Darn it, it won't let me do that.
So you get when you're just a guest. You can't get a full screen.
Don't worry, I don't get one either.
Well, it's also what happens when you're the guy that's kind of just I'm running it, I'm hitting the comments, I'm reading, I'm doing the PowerPoint, I'm hosting. I'm like a one-man army over here. So Mark, what do you have going on? Talk to the folks. What do you have going on?
I got to get my book finished so I can get in on this inner circle that's going on there. I just keep writing. I don't produce it. What do I have going on? I'm waiting for this COVID thing to die down so I can get back out there on the road and do a little more training in person. And that's bound to pick up. I've had some good inquiries this week. If you want to connect with me at all, you can go to our website, andersoninvestigative.com. I'm on LinkedIn. That's an easy place to get hold of me. If you have any questions, issues, you need material on the issue of interviewing that I can help you out with, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I know several people in here that I've talked to over the years, and if I can help anybody out, I'm happy to do that.
All right. And so let's see. What am I working on? I have a boot camp coming up starting in May. It's called the Ask Better Questions Boot Camp. It is 18 hours of CPE. It is a 9-week program. Some of it is on demand. Some of it is live, but I promise you it will change your audit career. If you want to know more, go to thatauditguy.com/boot camp. See, I made it real easy for you. Now, you guys know what May is, other than, May the 4th being the great day for Star Wars. May the 4th be with you for everyone. Yes, I am a Star Wars nerd. Yes, I am. But it is also Internal Audit Awareness Month. If you go to my website, you can get you some good merch. We have the I Love Audit t-shirts for sale. We have the world's most awesome auditor t-shirt. If you're an auditing ninja, we got something for you. If you are the LIFO the party, tell everybody you're the LIFO the party. You need an I Love Audit mask. I've got you covered there. And if you got a little one that's your tax deduction, um, sometimes it is a cruel world, pun intended, and oftentimes you have to kiss an accountant because it is tax deductible. And last but not least, auditors love physical fitness. Next month, Internal Audit Awareness Month. Go get your gear at thatauditguy.com. And then once you get your gear, take a picture of yourself wearing it and send it to me. I'd be happy to see that. Or better yet, post it on LinkedIn. Don't send it to me. That might sound a little creepy.
I just got mine. I will be in Savannah, Georgia for the Coastal Georgia IIA chapter.
Oh, very nice.
And I'm going to sport my I Love Audit t-shirt that I just bought from Robert's merch.
And I tell you what, here's what we'll do. Since Deidre and Emily both answered the question, Emily, send me an email. Tell me what you want, which shirt you want. You got a free shirt coming your way. Deidre, you have a free book or shirt. Tell me which one you want. I don't care. Free shirt or a free book coming your way. Just email me. Hal.
Stay in your seats.
Yeah.
So look, we want to thank you guys for joining us for this week's episode of whatever we're calling this Friday Fraud Show. Kentucky, man, let's get it together. You got citizens, in all seriousness, who are hurting. You've got risk management professionals who you should be listening to, because I'm sure someone told you when you implemented that system to implement strong security controls, and you probably said, no, we don't want to do that. And now it's coming back to bite you. Bernie Madoff, that's our last one for today. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. Auditors always ask for evidence. And, actually on my website, I have an article that I wrote about that about 8 years ago. And I think it was titled, Don't Forget to Ask for Evidence. Don't forget to ask for evidence, auditors. You guys, any last words you want to leave the people with before we say our goodbyes today?
No, Mark, I just want to say thank you for coming. Kelly only said you could come as long as we didn't like you better than her. So I won't report back. I won't.
You probably talked to my family and realized that wouldn't be an issue.
Hey, go ahead, Mark.
Robert, I just wanted to say to you on that, the course that you're doing on the asking questions, you talk about a way to get around some of these issues that we're talking about here. It's asking those good questions. So what you're providing is a huge problem in the audit and investigation business. So by you teaching something like that, it's going to get people to ask those questions that get truthful answers, not the charming bully answers.
Right. I, you know what, Mark? I so appreciate you for saying that. Honora is saying this was her first time here. It was fun. Thank you. We hope to see you next week. We do it every Friday, same time, same channel. And on that note, see you guys next week.